This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And you may be saying to yourself, whoa, this is weird. Not only can I not see you guys
Nation
this
has
week,
taken over. It's running rampant right now because Sean Anderson, MIA.
Second week in a row. Sean's like, hey, guys, you know what? I got to broadcast a football game in Michigan. Not going to be able to come in. Me and Dave said, no problem. We got you covered. What's up? We'll write the shit.
Oh, God.
Writing the shit.
It doesn't feel good.
Shout out to my boy, Ben. He's the commander-in-chiefer.
Come back soon, Sean.
What's up, nation? But Ricky Widmer and Dave Oster here to take you through the fast break. And we got to hit a groove now, Dave. Like, do I even have to tell them what we're talking about? Because we've kind of hit a groove.
I think they know what to expect it these days.
If you're new to the fast break, what we're doing until the foreseeable future,
we got our off-season program
until we get football games going, is we're going to talk about a division.
Football games. We changing sports?
Basketball. I'm on total football mode. Basketball games. We're going to be talking about a division. This week it's the Northwest. And then we're going to be doing some rankings. This week we were ranking coaches, and it was fun. It was fun to rank some coaches.
I think it was a lot of realization of how shitty some coaches in the NBA really are.
Especially some of the bottom feeders. And you guys, I'm going to have a special announcement during that part of the podcast. But we're going to start with our divisional preview part, Dave. And we're moving back to the Western Conference after being in the East last week. We're looking at the Northwest. And to me, this is an interesting division only because we've got, to me, the up-and-coming Timberwolves with new coach. They bring in Chris Dunn, a nice young talent who I think eventually is going to overtake Ricky Rubio.
Looks like a potential star in the NBA after that
starting job.
Yep.
We also got the Thunder, who how are they going to transition post-KD? Then we got the Blazers. Dave may think they're falling off. We're going to get to that. Then we have the Jazz and the Nuggets. But I want to start with Minnesota. And
with
what we said.
With the news coming of KG's retirement as well.
Does it really does it really hurt them though?
He did his job. He was a mentor year one. That's all Cat needed. He needs somebody to look up to and be like, this is what I can be if I give it my all.
Well,
I think that's kind of
not just that.
Went well.
Thibodeau would have killed his knees.
Well, Thibodeau
or would have tried to kill his knees.
Yeah, Garnett would not have. I mean, he was playing limited minutes already, very limited.
I mean, look at what Thibodeau did to Joakim.
Poor Joe.
I mean, Joe didn't play this season mostly because of how hard he pushed himself during the Thibodeau era.
Yeah, but Joe also can't shoot, so I don't have too much remorse for the man.
KG can shoot a little bit better.
KG had a sweet shot.
But I say up and coming, and I kind of feel like when I say that, it's a slap in the face to this Timberwolves team.
No, they rebuilt right. I want to give them credit as an organization for bringing in the pieces one by one. They took their time. They didn't rush anything. They didn't go out and drop a ton of money on some free agent who's, gonna maybe on paper make their team better, but might not fit stylistically or with the locker room. They got this whole class of young guys bringing them up. I think one of the oldest guys, like the veteran leadership on that team, is Ricky Rubio. Really now. So
yeah, he would be the oldest.
I think it's a really good roster. And look, you got just absolute star power with Cat down low. You got Wiggins, who, no slouch, absolutely not. And Ricky brought it up earlier. Our boy, Chris Dunn in the draft.
He's going to take over Ricky Rubio's.
The hype for this team is real.
And I mean, before we get into Chris Dunn, though, the one thing I wanted to mention was when you were talking, Dave, the whole thing with the rebuilding right, they didn't just do it through the draft. The key move that I would say to make the just decision of, hey, you know what? We're going to take someone like K-Love, who we might have drafted to be the guy who's not going to be the guy.
He was that cornerstone of the Timberwolves for many years.
Let's do an equal swap. Hey, Cleveland, if you think he's a piece for your championship run, you can have him. Give us all this young talent. And mainly it was give us Wiggins, but we'll take fucking Anthony Bennett, who shouldn't have been a number one pick, and just cut him because he's no longer on this team. Like, making that move as well. And I mean, now getting into Chris Dunn, I think that he is going to be, we talked about in our six-man discussion, I think he's a six-man right now, but he ain't going to stay a six-man for much longer. I think it's eventually going to go, hey, Ricky, this is now Chris Dunn's job, and he's now our point guard.
Well, look, I think the advantage of having Ricky Rubio on the floor with this starting unit is the fact that he is a distributor first. Mm-hmm. He is not likely to take a shot. he drives to the lane, and his shots are usually pull-ups or layups, one way or the other. But he's going to get the ball to the guys who are like super proficient with scoring, whether it's Wiggins, Zach LaVine, or Towns. I think that is a nice complementary player that you can have him run with the first unit, because in that second unit, when you look at that, Chris Dunn now has a lot of opportunity to score. He can kind of highlight himself as that spark off the bench and kind of make sure there's no downtime, when you do need to rest starters. So I think early on in the first couple months of the year, I think it's going to benefit him to be in that second unit. So he does have all the opportunity in the world to showcase his entire ability, I guess, to play basketball, because he's a well-rounded player. But
eventually, is it going to be when he works with that second team? Is it going to be, okay, this is now you're now in that first squad, and this is now not necessarily your team, but you are now our point guard of the future moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's very likely. Obviously the big deficiency and the big reason Ricky Rubio gets some hate is his lack of offensive prowess. His outside shot is non-existent. He is not efficient, and you know what? In today's NBA, you need a guard who absolutely is a well-rounded floor general, and that's what we see in Chris Dunn. That's why he was so highly thought of coming out of college, because he had that maturity to him. He could control the ball on the court. He could direct offense, and he just has that all-around package. Ricky Rubio, again, limited, but he's still very good at what he does, but maybe just not the best fit anymore for that starting unit come end of year, maybe that playoff push.
And another thing that I remember draft time, this was a big thing I liked about Chris Dunn. He's good defensively and can rack up some steals. Partner that with Coach Thibodeau, the defensive coach. I think him and Thibs are going to get along just nicely.
Yeah, I feel
Minnesota.
I think that was like Rubio's on the board. Yeah, Thibodeau would like that.
Yeah, he would
Definitely.
really like that.
I think that was his pick.
The one thing before we get into the Thunder, because that's the next team I want to move to, I want to ask you one last thing about the T-Wolves.
Sure thing.
I have said it on past fast breaks coming into this upcoming season. I think the T-Wolves make a jump this year. I think they are a playoff team. Bold. If it is even the 8th seed. Can we see a playoff? Do you see a playoff seed from this T-Wolves team this year?
There's a very good chance they make that jump. They had 29 wins last year. Obviously not fantastic, but we saw the growth out of Towns. Dieng is underrated. I think that man is a stat filler. He does everything they need him to. He's quite good. Wiggins at the end of the year, if you look at his stats from beyond the All-Star game, very, very impressive. So I want to see this Timberwolves team hit that playoff stride. I don't know. This year feels like it's too early. It feels like things are all clicking. We're going in the right direction, but I don't know if I see them as a playoff this year.
Well, and the only reason why I see them as a playoff team is because of that Southwest. We talked about it before. You guys can check out. I think that was 2 weeks ago. We looked at the Southwest.
You're just hating on Houston.
Someone from that Southwest. It could even be the Grizzlies. Could even be the Mavericks. Somebody's falling out, and I think someone from the Northwest comes in. However, we're going to get to it in a little bit. Yeah. You think there's a team in this division that could fall out. It's not going to be the Thunder, who we're going to look at right now. And I hope I'm not doing what I did X amount of weeks ago, Dave, where in pre-podcast, Dave says, I've got this great quote. He hits it up.
This isn't even a great quote.
I have it on my screen, and then I go, Dave, could you tell us about that quote? And Dave's like, I don't have it on my computer. I hope I'm not doing that to you this time, but you said you have a quote from it's just Thunder from Reddit.
Simple and easy. It was, they were talking to Enes Kanter about the Thunder this year and leadership questions of Westbrook, and he just came out and said, he's like, look, Westbrook was our leader last year too. Like, this is nothing new for them. They didn't change anything. He has always been the leader of this team. Look, I understand that Kevin Durant and Westbrook were like best friends, best buddies, and like everyone on the team. Like, I feel like they were like, the Thunder were like an extended college team. Like, they all hung out at each other's houses. They played video games together. Like, it was an awesome environment for young talent in the NBA. And even like Serge Ibaka was talking about how much it helped him like fit in with the team, that he could like live at Kevin Durant's house for like chunks of time, and like literally they would just hang out. They're friends. But friends is one thing and a leader is something else. And Russell Westbrook is that leader of this Thunder team. And there's no question in my mind that they have any issues with that. Like, no one on the team is going to question him.
Well, I think this is a situation, and I mean, we could look back to when Durant actually left. Like, this wasn't a type of situation when LeBron left Cleveland. Cleveland was fucking nothing.
Just their hands up in the air, like, bro.
It was basically a barren wasteland where you just saw one tumbleweed.
Well, and burning LeBron jerseys.
And burning LeBron jerseys, but they had nothing.
No, I mean, it's also Cleveland, so it's not like they had a lot to start with.
The Thunder had... They still have a lot. They've got Russell Westbrook, who, like you said, can be like saying that he can be a leader for this team. I think is me slapping him in the face.
It is because he is. He
is a leader of this team. You have Steven Adams, who him and Enes Kanter. I believe I saw it today. I think it was a Bleacher Report article while I was flipping through my Facebook when I first woke up, and the article, the headline said, like, Kanter and Adams forming the best bromance in the NBA.
I'd love to see it. I know there's some good, I think, Instagram videos or Vine videos.
Instagram of them singing in the car.
Yeah, they're buddy. And look, it's great that the environment in that city is still, they're all real positive. They picked up Oladipo this offseason with a very smart trade. So, look, they're not stepping off. Obviously, they've got a gaping hole at small forward. Kyle Singler is not the answer. We all know that. He's a waste of space. But they built up correctly. Like, they're actually a really deep team. And I know we've talked about our draft, like our favorite guys in the draft, and Sabonis was one of mine. And I think that this is, again, it's a great pickup. We're going to see him pull some playing time.
I think eventually what we're going to see is we're either going to see, they could do either one of two things. They could either have Robertson kind of go out to
I could see him going small forward,
because they trust him. And last year in the playoffs, he was starting to become his own, from my eyes, because I didn't watch Thunder games every single night like I would do my fandom of the Chicago Bulls.
Fair enough.
I could see him going, if they're like, you know what, maybe Robertson wouldn't be good there. Maybe putting Ilyasova at the small forward spot as soon as Sabonis, they feel like he's ready to take over the four.
As much as I want that to happen, Robertson has the size and the athleticism to play the three. There's no question there. Ilyasova would be a liability on defense. He does bring a decent, not a full stretch, but signs of being a stretch for. Really, the question is how often are they going to go to that double big lineup of Adams and Kanter on the floor? I love watching it. I think it's one of the most dynamic changes that they kind of bring because it is a matchup nightmare.
It pulled them up 3-1 against the Warriors before Clay went off.
It really is a matchup nightmare, and I don't think my teams have an answer to it. So I think we're going to see a lot of fun out of this Thunder team.
They're still going to be top in the Northwest.
I still think they're a playoff team lock, absolutely. And they're going to figure out what to do with that starting lineup and how to get those rotations in because, like I said, they're deep, but they've got options.
And now I want to move on. This is a team that before I ask you the question I have, because before we started recording the podcast, you said something that kind of shocked me with this team. I didn't expect someone to go that way. But I can't remember which commenter it was, but we had a commenter comment something about, I want to say it was our point guard rankings, and I just wanted to make this clear. There was a comment talking about Damian Lillard and his clutchness.
Dame.
It wasn't just Dame. It was like, Kyrie is this, Steph is this, Dame is this. One thing I want to say is Dame is pretty damn clutch. Like, that was my point that I made from that comment was Dame is pretty clutch. Like, go back to the playoff series when he needed to put it on the line fucking against the Rockets.
No hesitation.
He can hit the game-winning shot. Yeah. So, I mean, that was just me defending my boy Dame a little bit. I know Lillard, a big fan of the podcast, big fan of the show.
You know you're listening.
Dame, we're always thinking about you. But now let's get into what you said pre-podcast before we hit the record button is you think Portland's going to fall off and not be a playoff team this year?
I think if we're looking at this division, they have the biggest chance to fall off. They finished last year 44-38. They were good, and the emergence of CJ was huge for this team. He stepped in and just lit it up for everybody. But again, it's that, okay, you've shown us everything you've got. How well is that going to balance out next year? Because you have a starting lineup that has some deficiencies in the paint, and you got a lot of depth, but not a lot of guys who I'm super confident in. Look, you got Plumlee, Leonard, Festus Ezeli, Noah Vonleh at center, and then power forward Aminu, Davis, and Harkless. Like, I'll be honest, I'm not super happy with any of those. Like, yeah, they're fillers. They're okay guys, but not one of them is one you're going to hold down on. And obviously this team, I know Portland fans are like, yeah, it doesn't matter. We've got one of the best backcourts in the league. I'm like, yes, but
that can only take you so far.
Yeah, and I think there's a very good chance that CJ won't put up another 21, 3-4 season next year. I think he's going to step back a little bit down to reality. I don't want to take anything away from him. It was a phenomenal year, and he definitely deserves everything he got, but I don't know if he's going to be that good again next year.
I look at this Portland team, and I think I want to say they're good enough for the playoffs. Because if I just look last year,
yeah,
Warriors are still ahead of them. The Spurs are still ahead of them. Thunder, probably, even though they lost Durant. I mean, it's not that huge.
I still have the Thunder ahead of them. Yeah.
They still have Westbrook. They still have Adams. They still have Cantor. They only lost Durant, which is a huge hit, but it's not as big of a hit. We already talked about that, though. I don't have to restate that. The Clippers, I still would have them ahead. All the teams underneath, I mean,
one of the teams I expect to come up this year.
The Jazz.
The Utah Jazz.
That's what you were going to say. I know,
yeah.
And I can read your mind, Dave.
I know. This is what we do.
The best friend wavelengths are
absolutely
working here. But, I mean, I
feel like the Jazz are a dark horse for Portland. And unless they got a big to stand up, look, Leonard has a chance. We all know that. Festus, we know what he did on a loaded team top to bottom and the impact he brought to them. But coming off, if he stays healthy, my thing is Leonard. He needs to step up.
Here's the question I have for you then.
Yeah.
So you think the Jazz are going to finish with a better record?
I think they pose the highest threat to stealing that spot.
Let's say they do finish with a higher record than the Blazers.
Yep.
Do you think the Mavericks, Grizzlies, and Rockets are all going to move ahead of the Blazers as well?
I think the Rockets can. I don't think that the Grizzlies will, and I probably don't think that Rick Carlisle will take this Mavericks team to another playoff.
So that means seventh or eighth is still open for this
possible.
Blazers.
It's possible.
So what?
That's hard to admit.
What I should say is Dave doesn't think the Trailblazers are going to fall out completely.
I just don't think they'll be number 2 in the Northwest
or five in the conference.
I'm a little high on Utah. I think that they've. Can we roll on? Are we good with Portland?
Well,
Portland people.
The only thing with Portland is the Myers-Leonard discussion. I mean, we talked about this in our 6-man discussion. Is he was injured last year, and if we go back to, I mean, he's never been the starter. But to be honest, who was there before him?
Yeah,
LaMarcus A.
Yeah.
So there was no way he was going to start over LaMarcus A. But I mean, if we look at last season, I mean, he only played 61 games, but he had, if he can give me a little bit more points and haul in a little bit more rebounds, maybe like put that 8.4, I'd even take 10 or 11. I'd like 12.
It's a shot that's impressive, though.
Yeah.
Like that's what he brings to the table that makes him valuable.
And I really like Myers-Leonard, and I'll be completely homer biased. It's because I loved watching him play for my Illinois Fighting Illini.
Of course.
It was great seeing finally an Illinois player taken in the first round of the draft that I could say, yes, we have somebody.
It's been a while since Darren Williams.
It's been a while since it's been a while. But let's move on to we can roll on to the Jazz. I'm sorry, Portland fans, but that was the main thing. Like, you have the best backcourt. Your front court is kind of And I mean, I like Plumlee, I like Leonard, but what can they can't hold down the fort all themselves.
Yep.
I think they're a playoff team. I'm just not quite sure. I don't know what we're going to see with the mess, which is the
work
bottom
itself
half
out
of
from 5 to 8 in playoff picture.
The mess, I call it. And